Hi, my name is Steven and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking to you about work or life. What is the right balance for you? Life is indeed about balance, and finding what balance works for you can be a challenging task. To achieve the right balance for our lives requires a lot of careful consideration of multiple factors within our lives. Because finding that right balance can help us allocate times to different parts of our lives. And finding the right balance for each of us requires a unique understanding of our own lives. While some people might find work more fulfilling than life, other people might find life more enjoyable than work. Regardless of what this balance actually looks like, it is up to us to find the perfect ratio for ourselves. And more crucially, stick to that ratio and adjust as needed in life. In my own life, I found this golden balance very hard to achieve, and at every step in my life, I have to work to adjust it and keep at it. Depending on what I'm doing from year to year, this balance can vary drastically in my life, and I can be thrown out of balance pretty easily. However, using this guide has helped me to achieve a better work-life balance and the ratio that I'm looking for. So here are some of the factors that I consider when determining my work-life balance. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about my background, my guide to work-life balance, and my general thoughts. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share with friends, hit that notification bell if you like this content. And here we go. Achieving a healthy work-life balance has become incredibly important in the last couple of years, especially now in my life where I have a family and need to have a better work-life balance. And maintaining a healthy balance can have significant advantages in the rest of your life and the people around you. And overall, it benefits our well-being, productivity, and happiness. But if we don't achieve a healthy work-life balance, we can have a bunch of negative effects come our way. This can be stress, burnout, or even exhaustion. And the toll isn't limited to ourselves. It can negatively affect those who are around us as well. That means it's not only important to achieve a personal balance, not only for ourselves, but for the others around us. There's definitely not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to work-life balance. It looks differently for each one of us. Some people might naturally tend towards working more, and others might tend to relaxing more in life. But regardless of what you value, finding the right ratio is very important for all of us, especially when it aligns with our values and priorities in our life. It was definitely important for me to look at work-life balance when I was taking on a new role and I had a young member of my family. The answer was not clear to me, but I had to follow a blueprint to find the best ratio that worked for me. So here are my factors to consider work-life balance. Number 1, personality considerations. The biggest test I put myself through when I'm assessing work-life balance is, does it fit my personality? Am I the sort of person that likes to work more or relax more in life? Your personality is the dominant factor in driving your work-life balance. Some people are just built for one or another. There's no perfect 50-50. But if you know your personality well and you know what path you want to take in life, then this becomes easier to find your work-life balance. And this means workaholic personalities will have a much harder time relaxing, and they need a balance skewed towards work. For example, early in my 20s, I knew I had a workaholic tendency in my life. I did not achieve balance during that time because I needed to work and work a lot. It fulfilled me with a certain sense of gratification that just relaxing and having fun didn't. Even when I was on break, I was thinking of the next thing that I wanted to do in life. Often I would work well into the evening regardless if I had school or work the next day. And I would work on various projects and side hustles I had at the time. I literally felt uncomfortable relaxing during the nighttime because I knew I wasn't being productive. So my predisposition to be a workaholic skewed me more into the work than life balance. When you're looking at your own personality, be sure to be completely honest with yourself and what your intentions are. The last thing you want to do is do more work than you really want to do, or relax more than you actually want to. You don't want to force work or relaxation if you can help it. The key is to achieve a balance that your personality can stand. Once you know what you skew towards, then you can get a baseline of what comes next. And it's much easier to solve the next couple of questions regarding your work-life balance. Number 2, what are your goals? The next thing you should consider when you're assessing your work-life balance is, what are your goals in life? Think of what you want to do in the short and long term. Goal setting in the short and near term can help you assess whether or not you need to work really hard or relax during this period of time. For example, you want a promotion and you want to work more to achieve that promotion, so you're going to skew towards more work than life. Or if your long-term goal is to have a family and enjoy time with the family, then you might skew less work and more life. When you're looking at these goals, you assess your need to change up your work-life balance at that moment. Where this really helps me is when I'm going through a life change or when I'm switching up the things that I'm doing. Every 6 months or so, I reassess my short and long-term goals and adjust my work-life balance according to it. Do I need to focus on work in the short term, or do I need to focus on family life? And if I do focus on work more than life in the short term, when do I go back to a more balanced life? Do I need to work hard temporarily in order for me to get this position or not? Once I get an understanding of my goals, it helps me to plan out what I need to do for my work-life balance in the future. For more in-depth guidelines on how to set up goals, check out my previous video on goals versus aspirations. In it, I show you the difference between goals versus aspirations and how to craft goals better. So definitely knowing your goals short-term and long-term can help you achieve a better work-life balance. It gives you the information that you need to make your work-life balance work for you. Number 3, short or long-term. So when you have your goal set, you need to ask yourself, is this for the short or long term? So for example, if you need to do something really hard for 3 weeks and then you can relax 3 months afterwards. Or if you need to work hard for 3 years to get that promotion and then you can relax afterwards. This question is very important because it helps you to understand if you're able to sustain your work life in balance and help you to avoid the dreaded burnout if you're skewing more towards work. This tip mainly pertains to working more, but it can also be applied to relaxing for a long period of time as well. Because when you take a long vacation or a sabbatical, it can also negatively impact your mood. At some point, you might not be fulfilled with just hanging around and doing nothing. You might want to do something more fulfilling in life. I don't make a decision in my life without looking at the short and long-term impacts of that decision. Because if you don't understand the long-term impacts of your decision, you may easily overextend yourself and burn out. I also know that I don't do well with a lot of time on my hands, so I don't schedule vacations and sabbaticals for very long. For you, you might want to look into the scope of what you're trying to do in some short period of time. Is this something you really want to pursue that might damage your work-life balance in the short term only? Or is it something that you're willing to suffer through and get through the other side of it? The answer might not always be clear, but if you think through as much as you can short and long term, you're in a better position for work-life balance. And have as much information as you can when you leap into something or make a decision. So think about the short and long-term impacts from your work-life decisions. Number 4, do you have support? As someone who always skewed more towards work than life, I've always had support around me during these decisions. I relied on my friends and family through very tough times in which my work-life balance was completely out of whack. And even if you skewed more towards life and relaxation, it also impacts your friends and family around you. So having that support, regardless of your work-life balance, is very important to have. Because when we make a decision on increasing or decreasing work-life balance, it not only affects us, but the people around us. You need to make sure that for the most part, they're okay with your decision and can support you through it. Because there are definitely some days when you're going to have to rely on others for support. During the pandemic and through it, I've seen both sides of this work-life balance with support. Early during the pandemic, I had way too much time on my hands and I didn't have a lot of support around me. I was stuck at home and I didn't have a lot of people to interact with on a daily basis. It was a miserable experience and I felt isolated through most of that time. During those days, I would have loved to have more work just to keep my mind off of the things going around us. And now on the other side of the pandemic, work is now becoming more engrossing in my life than ever before. And I definitely need to rein work in from time to time so that it doesn't impact my family life. I also needed buy-in from my family to make sure that they're okay with the increased time at work. For these work-life balance decisions, talk to the people that you are around with most, especially if they directly impact your work-life balance happiness. Because the sooner you get them on board, the easier your life will be in the process. Because you would have set expectations with them and they know what they're getting from you, whether that's only in the short term or long term. So whatever path you choose in your work-life balance decision, get people to support you through it. Number 5, honest thoughts. Lastly, what is your honest feelings about increasing or decreasing work-life balance? This means asking yourself the tough question of whether or not you really want to do it or not. So that means people might ask us to work more or people might ask us to take more vacation. How often do we assess our own feelings on work-life balance issues? For example, if you put your head down, work hard for a short-term promotion, is that really what you want in life? Do you really need it? Is that sacrifice ultimately worth it to you in the long run? We need to ask ourselves these hard questions in order for us to truly gain an understanding of our own work-life balance. It is really one of the hardest things for you to do, and you have to take your own ego out of it for your own well-being. And once you realize the true answer, you can use it as a guiding star for your work-life balance. Early in my life, I did a lot of things that I was expected to do, not because I actually wanted to do those things. It caused me great suffering because of it. I spent a lot of time and energy on those things that weren't really something I wanted to do. Starting certain businesses and staying in jobs longer than I thought I should have been are some of the examples that I have. And also going through a lot of hoops during my bachelor's and master's degrees. These were things that definitely put the pressure on me to skew more work than life during that time, but ultimately I don't think I actually wanted to do those things. Nowadays, I'm much more thoughtful about what I want, honestly, from a work-life balance, and how does that affect my family life. My suggestion is to really find out what your honest feelings are about work-life balance and what you truly want to do. You might find out that the true answer is different than what you thought it was. Check out my previous video on how to know your limits, a guide to finding your limits in life. In it, I talk more in depth about knowing your limit and when you're reaching them. So think honestly about your situation when you're trying to make a work-life balance decision. So here are my general thoughts on determining work-life balance. I don't think that there's ever going to be a perfect work-life balance. It just doesn't exist. Humans are not machines. We ebb and flow on a daily basis, and that might change our work-life balance. At some point, we might get bored of our perfect work-life balance and might need something interesting in our lives. This can be in the form of more work or more vacation during a period of time. It's important then to continuously assess your work-life balance and what does that look like to you. And regardless of what work-life balance you end up having, at the end of the day, you have the right to throw it all out the window. Because even if we think we have a good work-life balance, we could all be incredibly stressed or underutilized at some point in time. If you're working too hard in the short term and you're feeling burnt out, just quit. Or if you're constantly on vacation or in a sabbatical, then pick up some work to help you feel more fulfilled. The key is to not let that work-life balance become who you are. You have the power to change that ratio whenever you want to whatever your benefit would be. So those are my thoughts on determining the best work-life balance for you. It's incredibly difficult to find the right ratio of work-life balance these days. Oftentimes, to survive, we need to work harder in the short term to just meet our daily needs. And even if you are relaxing for a long period of time, you can feel listless and bored. And the need to feel useful and fulfilled might take over relaxing. But by considering a few things when you're making your work-life balance, you can better optimize your time and put you in a better position to sustain that work-life balance for the long term. If not, you might jeopardize the work-life balance of not only yourself, but the people around you. So thank you for watching. Please leave a comment down below on what are your thoughts on work-life balance and have you been able to achieve it? And I'll see you next time.